I'm Kiera Morgan. Thanks for joining me on this episode of Coffee with Kiera, sponsored by The Human Bean in Newport and Lincoln City. And today I'm excited to be with Paul. I'm not going to attempt to say his last name because I don't want to butcher it. And he is the director of the Lincoln County Economic Development Alliance. Paul, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, first I'll start with the last name, and it took me through high school to figure out how to say it. It's Schuytema, and it's one of those like weirdly Americanized Dutch names. It's crazy, but there's only 4 Schuytemas on the entire Pacific Northwest.
Wow!
And they're all related. It's my wife and I, my uncle and aunt. We're all in Oregon, so we're a small clan. And yeah, as you said, I'm the executive director of the Economic Development Alliance of Lincoln County. And what we are is we're a nonprofit that's been here for, I think, 27 years now, serving and trying to help grow the economic vitality of all of Lincoln County. And I'm only the 3rd executive director, so there's been some big shoes to fill with the people who came before. But it's been a really exciting adventure. I've been here just about exactly 2 years. My wife and I have been trying for probably about 6 years to come to Oregon.
Wow.
Because my uncle and aunt are in Corvallis. He was a longtime researcher at OSU, and when we would come out and visit, we loved the coast. And when this opportunity came up, we packed up and moved from the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. Oh. Back in June of 2020, when we thought the pandemic was almost over, not just starting. And so it's been an adventure because economic development is really a job, especially in rural communities, about building relationships. What you're trying to do is be that connector between a business and whoever can provide that solution. And trying to build those relationships in a pandemic where it's just everything's on Zoom. One person who I've been working with for 2 years, I only saw in person for the first time ever today at a lunch meeting. And we like hugged each other. We're like, oh, and then she's like, you're taller. And I'm like, you're shorter. But we got it done. So I guess I'll start at a weird place, which is my background, because sometimes I say I'm completely unqualified for what I do. I have a Master's of Fine Arts degree in science fiction writing from the University of North Carolina. That and a couple bucks gets you a lovely latte from Human Bean. But it did lead me down an interesting career path, and most of my career I was a software entrepreneur. I ran software development companies and spent most of my time doing game development. And you can see some of my games back up there. We had a chance to do the Survivor games for CBS, one of the Tom Clancy games. But it was in my work as a software developer in a small rural town in Illinois where I actually discovered accidentally economic development. We ran our entire software company for about a year with one shared dial-up AOL connection.
What?
and the GTE, our phone company there, didn't, if we had a business account, they charged you even for a local call by the minute. So we paid $19 a month for AOL and $700 a month for the phone to be connected. And so I became an advocate for broadband and realized the power of public-private partnerships, businesses working with municipalities, working with government stakeholder partners, that you could be a louder voice together. And we ended up at the end of a very long journey. The city of Monmouth, where we were, had redundant fiber broadband to the home. And it wasn't just us, but it was everybody pushing that boulder up the hill. And so I actually officially got into economic development in the weirdest way. I'd been doing consulting and stuff like that. Everybody sort of consults on different things. But I was still doing software development, but I was kind of working solo. And it was weird because I'd been working by myself for about 6 months, and I was going stir crazy because I had this huge office. I'm talking to nobody, and I'm like, ah. And I got a call from the city of Monmouth, and they're like, can you just swing by City Hall? We got a crazy idea to run past you. And I went in there, and I was sitting there with the mayor and the city administrator, and they're like, we want to create an economic developer position. And I know you haven't done this before.
Sorry.
That's okay.
Okay.
So they sat me down and they said, we want to create this economic developer position. We've never had one. We know that's not what you do, but you've helped our community do things. Would you try it? And they're like, we're both accountants and bean counters. We need someone different. And I'm like, okay. So I treated it like playing a game of SimCity with real people's money. And my first job description literally was make downtown cool. That was it. But I started to kind of see in a rural community all the different things that made a community healthy or brought a community down. And, you know, at the center of that are positive relationships. But then there's all sorts of other things that aren't nearly as sexy, but like, is there infrastructure? Is there transportation? Is there places for people to live? Is the community nice to entrepreneurs? That's a huge thing in rural communities because everybody knows each other. And if you try to start a business and fail, a lot of times these small communities can be kind of catty. It's like, oh, there's Paul. He screwed up a business. As opposed to the truth is, which is he learned a lot of information about what not to do. So when he starts his next business, he'll be better equipped. And so that started a 13-year journey, and here I am in Oregon, absolutely loving it, and getting to be part of this community which has so many smart, incredible people, so many wonderful support nonprofits in all areas, and so many small businesses, which are just really the bedrock of the entire economy. And so I get to wake up every day and really try to do my best to help them solve problems. And that's something that's really, really rewarding.
Now, do you work with large businesses and small businesses, Paul?
Yeah, and it really depends on what issues or what we're trying to accomplish. And for example, when Georgia Pacific, the big 800-pound business gorilla here, was going for a strategic investment program incentive from the state of Oregon, we stepped up to try to support that. When Rogue Brewery, another big business here, wanted to add a new bottling line, we managed the enterprise zone, which creates some favorable limited time tax exemptions if you invest money that creates jobs. Mm-hmm. So we were able to help them, guide them through the process so they got those tax exemptions so they could spend more money investing in creating new jobs and less money on taxes for a while. But on the other hand, it's small businesses. It's a woman who is maybe in their third career trying to see if they can make a go at it as a painter. How could we help them maybe get some of the startup education that they need? How could we help them connect to other entrepreneurs so they don't feel so alone? Mm-hmm. So it really kind of depends. The challenging thing about being such a small organization is we each year kind of come up with a set of strategic priorities where we look at what our abilities are, what opportunities are out there, and what the needs are, and kind of set what we're going to be doing for the next year, because we can't do everything. I would love to have a staff of 10 people and just go out there and meet with every business, be with them as they go through SBDC classes. We have a great SBDC there's so many things I wish we could do, but we have to focus on some priorities. So what we're doing right now for this coming fiscal year, because as a nonprofit, our fiscal year starts July 1. So we've been sort of setting ourselves up for this next year. And we're going to be focusing on basically 3 different things for the next year. One is through a program through Business Oregon called the Rural Opportunity Initiative. We have some grant funds and some training and a mandate to support entrepreneurs. And that they call it building the entrepreneurial ecosystem. And for me, what that is a scaffolding of support. Mm-hmm. Not telling entrepreneurs what they should do, not necessarily educating them on their business. That's what the SBDC is for. But helping them connect with other entrepreneurs, helping them find sources of capital, helping them realize that they're not alone, helping the community change the dialogue that failure is okay in entrepreneurship. And those are some long-term goals, but we're going to be working on that probably for the next 6 or 7 years, at least, maybe even longer than that. The other thing we're going to be working on for hardcore for the next 2 years is really trying to help the entire coast of Oregon with a little bit more of a focus on Lincoln County, but we're supporting the whole coast, enhance what they call blue economy jobs or blue sector jobs. And a lot of times people say, Paul, what's the blue economy? What is that? And I give a flippant answer, which is pretty accurate, which is it's where cash meets saltwater.
I love that.
And, more functionally, there's a whole lot of things in the blue economy. I mean, it's tourism, it's parks and rec, it's retail entrepreneurship, it's maritime, it's commercial fishing. What we're doing is we're looking at a little bit more functionally, which is we're looking at what the state of Washington and the state of California, who are decades ahead of Oregon as far as having mature economies in that area, look at what they're doing and what we have opportunities to do better in Oregon, but not directly compete and try to reinvent the wheel. Mm-hmm. Because we're never going to have the assets that even like the city of San Diego has to put towards blue economy along the entire Oregon coast. But there are incredible opportunities in the fact that we have one of the largest close shore commercial fishing industries along the entire coast. And a lot of like Alaskan fishing boats and things like that come and will winter in Newport to get fixed up and refitted. That's an industry, not only the commercial fisher people, but the support businesses that fix those boats, that refit those boats. And that's an aging out business. A lot of people are getting older and retiring. And so one of the things that we're looking at is creating career pathways, educating young people on, wow, these are interesting, challenging, technical, hard, but super well-paying jobs, and how to take them through so they can understand. So when they're a junior in high school and go, I want to be a mechanical engineer on a fishing boat, there's a path for them to take that you can explain to their parents. You can show them the education pathways, show them that they can get all the training here, and that there'll be a job that starts at $70,000 or $80,000 when they're done. So that's a huge effort that we're doing. And then we're also looking at entrepreneurship as it pertains to the blue economy. Like if a couple crew members on a shrimping boat come up with a better way to pull in the line so certain things don't get snagged or something like that, then we could help them go through the Hatfield iLab, prototype their widget, market test it, figure out how to build a business, pump them through an SBDC class, help them find some incubator space, and hopefully help them capitalize their business and create a widget making business that can make other fishermen more productive. So those are some of our focuses. And there's also two other focuses. One is on aquaculture, but it's not on the aquaculture that competes with the natural fisheries that we have. But there's great opportunities in dulse and seaweed aquaculture. There's a lot of work being done in oyster and shellfish aquaculture, prawns, things like that. And I've learned being here that if I say salmon aquaculture, I'll be fired instantly. So I did not say that. But the thing is, you realize where you're not supposed to step. You're not trying to create problems, you're trying to solve problems. And really the sort of the last area that we're exploring in this area is looking at, are there opportunities for alternative energy like hydrogen fuel cells to help power some of these fishing vessels and some of these research vessels? And NOAA, whose Pacific Fleet is based in Newport, has a mandate to move towards renewable energy to power their boats. So there might be an opportunity there. It's one of those things like we don't know yet, but it's worth spending a little time and money. So we have some grant funds for about 2 years to help us build a coastal coalition and start basically training to hit it above our weight class. And then the other things that we work on are kind of specific projects that maybe communities need some help in that also support businesses. And a perfect example of that is we work with the Art Toledo Committee in Toledo, which is using public art to revitalize their Main Street. And, how does art and business combine? Well, one, all those artists are small businesses. The other is if you can create a compelling downtown, those empty storefronts suddenly are places where businesses can locate. And one of the things that we created, and we're working with Art Toledo, it's implemented, we're coming up on our second year, is what they call phantom galleries. So we've worked with commercial landlords on Toledo's Main Street that have empty storefronts and have turned those into temporary art galleries for artists to show and sell their work while also marketing that empty space as a place for your business. And so I love those kind of synergies when you can take multiple things and pull them together, and then work with the community and really feel like you're a partner. So that's kind of what we do here. And what you could probably sense is there's a thread of it's not the same thing every day. It's a lot of creative problem solving, opportunity recognition, and opportunity creation, which is really entrepreneurial thinking. We're an entrepreneurial thinking economic development organization. And I just feel so fortunate to be able to do this in this incredibly beautiful place where you can be on the coast, being rained on apparently, again, to being, in 5 minutes, you're in deep old growth forests. And is there anything cooler than that? I don't think so.
And Paul, if someone wants some more information or they'd like to contact you, how may they do so?
The easiest way is go to our website, because it's easy to remember, businesslincolncounty.com. And my email is just, because my last name is difficult, it's just paul@businesslincolncounty.com. So shoot me an email. Check out our website because there's a lot of information and resources available right there for businesses. We can help businesses get training dollars to train new employees, help them access capital programs that are already in place. There's a whole lot of things that we can help make that connection. And I kind of like to think that we're like eHarmony for businesses. We could bring a business to a potential solution, take them to their first date, and then you set them loose and hopefully they have a wonderful relationship together.
That's awesome. Well, Paul, thank you so much for joining me today on Coffee with Kiera, again sponsored by The Human Bean in Newport at 6th Street and Highway 101, and in Lincoln City at the north end of town on the west side of the highway by TLC Credit Union. For Oregon Coast Breaking News, I'm Kiera Morgan.